Testing 1, 2, 3.
Hey, kitty. You want a car? Hey. Now. Yes.
Hello.
Hey, Martin.
Hey, Rich. Hello, Martin.
Hi, Martin's coming in shortly.
Hey,
Hey,
Michael.
Rich. How you doing? Good morning.
Good. How about you?
Not too bad, thanks.
Good.
Did you hear
Who was
about
the?
what's causing the United ground stop, Rich?
No, I didn't know there was one.
Yeah, it started last night. They grounded all the United flights in the country. This morning, they said it had to do with weight and balance computer software. So weight and balance is what allows the pilot to fly and maintain pitch, even left and right with changing fuel on longer flights. Weight and balance is a big deal. So if the system is off even 5%, a couple guys wrote to me last night, it could cause big problems.
Wow.
Kind of nice to know if you get on a plane, that if the heavy people are sitting in the wrong place, the pilot could have trouble taking off.
I thought that was really the on smaller planes that was more critical.
No. It's actually been a problem with cargo shifting on cargo 747s. So if the cargo isn't secure and it shifts during flight, especially on takeoff or landing, big problems.
Yeah,
Big
I can.
problem.
Yeah, I can see that.
And there's weight on wheel sensors that could have been implicated in the India crash, like I mentioned to you. But they're still trying to figure that out. But I don't know if weight on wheels is the only way they do weight and balance. I think there's other techniques, and I don't know, where it is on the plane and how the sensors work. But I know fuel balance is a big deal. But again, if too many bags for carry-ons are too heavy and they're placed in the wrong part of the cargo hold, that might only affect things 1%. But if you imagine open seating and all the people want to sit up front, that's that's been a problem on open seating, you know.
Wow. Hmm. Interesting.
Yep. Well, is there any set topic for today? Is Martin on? I guess Martin's not here yet.
Yeah, Martin's coming in shortly.
Who's that speaking?
This is Khadija or Kat,
From where?
um, from Schweiger and Partners, but I'm based in KL and Japan.
Well, okay.
Hmm.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. You guys are mainly in the US, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, cool. I used to go to school there.
Yeah, where?
At Dartmouth in New Hampshire.
Oh, yeah. So I've got a professor friend there.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, Ron Adler,
Ron Adler in which department?
business.
Okay, so you would have been in the
Ron
business school
Adler,
then.
the white lens, is it?
Yeah. Hey, good to hear you.
Hi. Yeah, I'm a bit late. So I come in, all the people already there. So but
Hello, Martin.
I just had a meeting with a client, so that's why I'm late. Yeah. Well, hello, David is here, Australia. So that's one of the last meetings this year, right? Because now is midnight for you already.
Yes, Martin, middle of the night.
Okay. Hi, Roland. Hi, Christina. Nice. So many things. Okay, Jürgen Brügel is also here. Yeah, we had quite interesting meetings the last 2 times with Alessandro, our venture capitalist. And one of the outcomes of those meetings is that I think we should set up a list where startups could access email addresses of potential investor companies. Like we learned that we have private equity and venture capitalists, and they are always on the lookout for new opportunities to invest their money. And I also understood, that surprised me very much, that there's still venture capital around. Even given the high interest rates of the banks. So I believe as venture capitalists mostly refinance themselves over asset managers of insurances and banks, I'm surprised that this concept is still so much in demand. I don't know whether you have better information than me, but if you could share, I would be happy.
Oh, well, I mean, venture capital had a really restricted
Okay,
year, a few years ago, but it's coming back for sure.
And the latest news from Silicon Valley, Microsoft showed some numbers on AI, and the AI investment went havoc. They poured, I don't know, $1 billion in venture capitalists right after Microsoft said we are earning money with AI.
Of course, is Microsoft earning money with AI? We are paying for the Microsoft AI. And
Good one. But anyway, there is a lot of movement going on right now in venture capital. And I don't know whether Alessandro can join today. He was not sure, but maybe next time he will be around as well.
no worries. No, I'm just thinking, right? So, I mean, we
Great
gave
idea.
Alessandro too full, and the thing is, when you let Alessandro start speaking, then he wouldn't end. It's very easy very difficult to get some control on that. So, but anyway, I enjoy it. So there's nothing against it, and he has obviously seen a lot of things in the financing area, and I mean that for me that is good news that this venture capital is coming back. So yeah, David, you have spoken up, right? Because so what gives you the insight that venture capital comes back?
Well, we have, I guess, in our local incubators, quite detailed briefings from the venture capital community about, I mean, not just narrative, like stats of how many deals, what's the value, what's the trend over the last 5-year period. I've even hosted events in Melbourne around that. And the stats in Australia very much mirror what's happening in the US, which is a downturn in 2022, 23, and sort of considerably ramping up towards norms 5 years ago, or sort of, before the COVID period hit. So, I mean, yeah, it's a good time to have an AI startup, but I mean, that's sort of oversaturated. So a lot of VCs looking for undervalued opportunities outside of AI as well. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of downsides. I often recommend clients don't take on VC for all the type of disadvantages we talk about. But, there's a lot of people with a lot of good ideas who have zero resources or funding or other methods. And it's like, well, why wouldn't you, suck and see and see if you can get a moonshot?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I mean that gives me hope, because I was really thinking that with the higher interest rates, that these startup fundings is drying out, and then, I mean, especially now with AI, that generative AI, to be more precise, that and I can say, because we do a lot of training for patent attorneys in patent drafting using generative AI. And what I can say is that 20% of the patent attorneys are now able to do 80% of the work. And that also means that 80% of the patent attorneys are left with 20% of the work. And what that means, I don't need to describe it. I see it under my nose. Right? So luckily, I'm one of those patent attorneys, probably one of those 1% who are able to do 50% of the work using AI. So because I work with AI for decades already, and I was into programming that, and I know the patent area like my pocket, and so that's an advantage, right? So
yeah, but I think firms, maybe not yours, but like just generally, the profession in general in different countries will slow walk the introduction of AI to keep their staff or the incumbent attorneys largely occupied, and just, not really hire very aggressively or much at all. So I think I mean, maybe there'll be a war of attrition, but yeah, I mean, I think that's generally the trend, and not just in what we do, but across the board. I mean, there are shocking job statistics that the private sector is only incrementally employing more people, and it's government created jobs.
Yes.
Accounts for a lot of, suppose they're creating demand essentially.
Yes, sure. I mean,
through taxes on an ever sort of less productive private sector.
Though it was nice to hear, at least in the US, as we are decommissioning government jobs, the statement was unemployment is stable. So it's as we were taking away government jobs, the unemployment rate was stable.
You actually believe that?
That was Powell.
Wait for it all to get revised and.
No, Trump fired the statistician, everybody. He's got to search out. Yeah, the
Oh,
BLS,
well, that'll solve it all. Don't worry.
the woman on the BLS, he fired the gatekeeper and said, your numbers are no good. You're out of here. You're fired. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was this one evil bad apple.
Truth's a messenger.
Okay.
What I'm hearing instead for VC money is rather it comes in with conditions.
Yes. And even Alessandro said it's
so
very
many
expensive,
riders.
right? Alessandro said several times, it was a bit defensive even, I found.
Ooh.
So, I mean, whenever I started to ask very, very little questions, right, about VC, he always became defensive and said, oh, but VC capital is very expensive, and those who don't need it shouldn't take it.
Speaking of which, that PitchBook where you're supposed to end up putting your pitch so that way VC can even talk to you, $16,000 a year.
What does that mean?
VC money is expensive. It takes you $16,000 to pay to play.
What does that? No, I saw. Can you please give us more context?
It takes you $16,000 to pay to even publish to the market where the VCs are interested in looking into your pitch. It takes money.
Pay
to play.
That they list you there.
Yes. But that is one of the most common databases mentioned. at least when it comes to pitches being shown for VC money.
Yeah, but it's a good hint. I mean, if you're looking for 2 million or
Yeah,
so.
you're right. That's a great template. We should steal it and we should undermine it.
Okay.
That's what I want to say.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we should set up something similar. Like
maybe we should innovate on that.
Yeah, Founder Institute, a copy between what is it, PitchBook and Founders Institute. And what's the name again, please, Joe? PitchBook.
PitchBook, yeah.
I've never heard of that one, but anyway. So
yeah, it's very, very well known here in the US.
Okay.
So Rich, so well known that now to hear $16,000 a year, does that sticker price at all on target, high, low? What'd you think?
What I think is it's ridiculous. It's a bunch of venture capital guys trying to make money, right? Is what it is. And, they figure that, the person or the organization that's going to, put on there is going to have some revenue. I mean, they're not even thinking about pre-revenue companies or anything of that nature, right? It's strictly, companies that are...
Yeah, no pre-revenue company is going to pay $16,000 to start their marketing campaign to get VC money.
That's right. I mean,
why not? If you travel to an international conference, that would cost you also 16,000.
Because I have to have money. I guess I have to have raked in the friends and family money at about 100,000 before I can spend the 100,000 to go for VC money. It feels like a lottery ticket, which most founders would rather kind of turn around and go and bootstrap on their projects.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just, give you my perspective. My perspective is that when I was looking for money, and now, granted, this is, back in, 17, 18, 19, 2017, 2019 through 2019. Basically going to the pitch competitions, going to, various venture clubs that had, meetings, making pitches there, that was much more germane, and it was, a lot less costly. Now, granted, you don't have the exposure supposedly that you get in a pitch book, but you know what? It also takes is one, right? I mean, you're just looking for that first investor, and other investors follow after that, and so that first one is the big hurdle. And basically, I'd rather spend my $16,000 going to different regions of the company, making my pitch to pretty select groups that are pretty close to what I'm looking for as far as money and partnering, than I would just putting it out there on PitchBook and just having people flip through it and just looking at those stats, and you get 300 views and you get 0 questions, right? That doesn't do you any good. So there's a lot of learning that takes place as you're standing in front of VCs and angels, making your pitch, and that's invaluable. And
so Rich, you say that the process of try and fail with potential investors is also, how to say, useful for progressing as a company.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Okay.
Very much so. I mean, there's all these little nuances that a different investor has a hot button on. I'll give you an example. A data room, right?
Yes.
And basically is your data room available, right? And basically what's that data room look like? What's your structure, right? So sharing that piece of information with them, and either through a slide or verbal description over a cocktail as you're sort of networking, I mean, is invaluable because, you know, some of them will say, oh, you know, that's great that you have that in there because, you know, a lot of venture, new ventures, you know, miss that, right? Or they miss this, or they miss that.
Okay.
And I mean, it's the feedback that you get, Martin, is just invaluable.
Yeah, but that's why Alessandro said. I mean, I'm just to give you some context. I'm when I came here, I was late because I had a meeting with a client, a new client. It's a startup in the development of pharmaceuticals in Berlin, in Germany, and I talked with the CEO. I mean, it's a small company. You wouldn't call I wouldn't call that CEO because that means that it should have some structure. So maybe 10 people and one is the leader, and she calls herself CEO plus an investor. And when I told her that she doesn't need a logo, but she needs clients or investors, and especially she as a CEO is expected to do full-time finding an investor for at least 1 year of that. That's her main job. She just looked at me with big eyes, and then that was a surprise for her because she's a scientist working in a lab. And I believe if you really send her on that mission, now I asked her, how far are you away from your product? And then she said, oh, 8 millions. I said, okay. Now, this is the challenge. Go out and find 8 million. And then she was really shocked when I said this. And the fact that she's shocked shows me that this is really a strange message. And I told that to Alessandro, and he didn't even react to that. I predicted that, so I tried it out today, and the outcome was as expected. And I guarantee that she will not go out and find investors. She will just sit there and hope that there's a white knight. Why are you laughing?
Because that's just the truth.
It's just
you almost guarantee the truth that
Yes.
she's not going to go for 8 million.
Yeah, but I mean, I have Rich here on the phone, and he. How many millions did you collect, and how long did it take you?
Well, we were looking for 2, and you know, we only survived on, you know, basically, you know, self-funding.
Yes. And how many people did you contact? Also, I know a success story. He harvested 6,500 people, and ultimately found about 8-ish investors that invested 100 to 150K each. And it took him about 6 months or 8 months.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, I think so.
Not bad. I mean, it's a lot easier today because there's databases out there that allow you to, you know, really identify who you're going to engage very, very quickly now. Whereas, you know,
where are these databases and how do I find them? I wanted to ask Alessandro, but
you pay $16,000 to get into one.
Okay, into one, right? And
yeah, I mean, there's lots of other solutions. I mean, just ad hoc, but I mean, there's one in Australia being developed out of Wholesale Investor, and it's a very broad spread, not just VC, and it's a lot lower cost. And I think they're building it so you can plug in your Zero, plug in your Carter, which is it's like a cap table type platform, so they can see the structure, see all the other investors, see the relative shareholdings. Essentially a sort of, you know, a data room, if you like, automated to a large extent.
Okay.
But most of those cap table rooms only do 1 round. They're very poor at actually doing the math of multi-round dilution.
Oh no! If you look at Carter, it's it's the default. It's very sophisticated in terms of accounting for national laws, and takes out all the automated dilution around options and convertible notes and the whole fiasco.
Interesting.
And again, what's the sticker price on Carta?
Quite reasonable. In fact, you know, I can get you a code for free access under $1 million.
Was that sarcastic, David, or what?
No, that's literally like they're in the dominant position, so they're just like looking to hoover up something like they have like 70% of startups in the world, basically.
But what is 1 million? Is it 1,000
In
or
other
is
words,
it 1 million?
there's room for innovation there too.
Well, yeah, possibly, but yeah, if you have a look at it, there's a reason why they're dominant.
Okay, but what is 1 mil? Is it 1 million or 1,000?
Oh, 1 million revenue. If you're under that, then just come in. We'll sort of shepherd you in, and it's like pretty cheap entry.
Ah, okay.
Because they're collecting a lot of data too, so they've got they don't sort of focus on monetizing the data, but it's like incredibly useful intelligence in terms of trends, and so they're a good source for the, I guess, investment trends, because they've got visibility on just such a mass bulk of the deals being done, which are otherwise, not accessible to, only through government agencies, and even then. So, they're uniquely placed.
Entering data into Carta doesn't help you understand your 5-way runway, though. And so I say there's still great opportunity.
Well, yeah, you're the one
Carta
who spends
doesn't
the money.
feed forward. Right. But it's also, let's say I don't change anything in how I'm spending it. If I update the Carta, I should be showing different numbers on my 5-year runway with having investment be put into the company. But what I'm saying is they're separate databases. There's room to migrate those two together.
You can't do everything. Can't boil the ocean.
Rich, we can integrate profit and loss statements and investment tables into one company database, and that way you don't even have to go outside of Carta.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing, but you have to also draw a line about just how extensive you want a site to be, right? But I don't disagree with that.
To cover the bare basics for a company to do what they have to do.
Yeah, and that would be the innovation, right? I mean, just taking, I mean, just taking a good database of angels and venture and private equity guys, putting that into a format that makes sense from identifying who should I target, right? For an early stage company would be invaluable. Let alone, taking the financials into account as you just described. So
that was the other interesting thing I heard about one of the investors this last week. It was minimum investment was $250,000 for their fund. And so that fund took 10% and they fixed 1 million cap price. End of story. Their pitch to you was at 1 million cap price, they're going to bring in enough investors to make it worth doing that. But you only get $100,000
what is cap price?
Total top price of your company. So if you're worth $1 million and I give you 100,000, I get 10%.
Okay.
So it helps you convert the percentage of share, is why cap price matters.
Okay, what I see is the following. This chasing investors is something that is very costly and ultimately, I believe, even more complicated than finding the right customers for your product.
I'd agree, and yes.
That brings me back to my pre-sales theory, and I wanted to highlight that to Alessandro, but he never reacted in that way because I don't know, maybe it's not what he wants.
This is why I want you, Martin, to talk to David Ducini, who's starting a bank. So he's starting a bank and doing the GoFundMe model using tokens.
Yeah, but that's what I'm looking at for a very long time, right?
Yeah, right.
And then
You
also
two are both
Alessandro has this
overlapping what you
element
want to do with just
because-
pre-sales.
Yeah, he's because Alessandro says that because I asked him how do you refinance yourself, and then ultimately it came out that there are a lot of people. They have a very large database of people of I don't know how many thousand he mentioned, but and they each one of them invests 5,000, and that's how he gets his VC capital. So is also breaking down a bit. There is not one VC.
And I think their threshold is 500 million.
500,000, not million.
No, I did not say 1,000.
But that's what he said. Or what do you mean when you say threshold?
I'm saying this guy's threshold that he has to get up to is 500 million.
No. Much less. He was not talking about 500 million. This was more a typical investment for him is 500,000. That's what I understood.
This is not to be an investment. This is to be a bank.
I don't understand. Please elaborate.
The threshold to become a bank is 500 million, not to be an investment, to be the bank that can run the books for all the investments.
I'm confused now.
My understanding, someone in my network, his threshold will be 500 million to open a bank, not to create an investment. 500,000 minimum for an investment that runs through a bank somewhere.
Yeah, sure. So that's what he said. He's looking for investments of 500,000, and he would break it down to 100 investors of each one investing 5,000. And then the key to everything is the owner. So that's what I understood.
Ooh.
So I thought, yeah, Alessandro, this is what he said in the first meeting, and I should dig. Yeah, I should ask him more about that. So that's.
And Martin, I see the founders of one of our local breweries are exiting because they are selling you lifetime supply of beer.
Uh-huh.
If you buy into their whatever high VIP membership, you can now drink or have a growler every single week, have a beer every night.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're having you become a part owner.
Yeah. We had a brewery owner from Munich here in our 4x4 meet. It was about 1.5 years ago. I still found I found a write-up a few days ago. So yeah, they have the same idea that you become a shareholder and then you get a beer supply for that. But anyway, that's not what we're looking. So I'm back to my original theory. Instead of chasing investors, I believe startups should chase buyers and or clients or customers, and then put all the thing there, because I believe is more useful to learn from the market than from the investors, and seeing the investors as a market. And
Martin, what if the product has an activation energy worth of money that it will physically take to make before you can get a minimum viable product into the customer's hand? I think that's why so many founders want to seek for investment.
Yeah, but that's the normal thinking of a technician, that he wants to have a product, and once the product is ready, would they go around and sell? But that's wrong. You can do
right. That's the pre-sale thing.
The pre-sales, you can do the pre-sales, and even if it's tokenized, and you say that this idea is now in practice, I would send them all my startups. But there is nothing outside. At least I don't know about it. I don't even need to be in that. I would invest into such a company because I believe in it. Because if you go into pre-sales and different from the Kickstarter, for example, which is a pre-sales company, different from the Kickstarter, once you have bought your voucher for getting the product, then trade that voucher on an online exchange, that would give you a lot of information. Namely, would the price rise over time as you're getting closer and your technology readiness level up to 10? Would the price rise of the original vouchers that you have sold with a discount, or would the price fall because the news are interpreted such that this product will never fly? Or and also you get some income already with which you can work, and many other information. You would learn how to sell your vouchers, and as Rich has mentioned, by selling your investment into your company, you learn a lot. But I believe by pre-selling the product to the market, you learn even more, and that is more directly linked to the success of your product. And I believe if you have pre-sales, is much easier to find an investor than just based on the idea and having a good data room and the structure of a flyer that you can hand out. So I'm not convinced.
And not caring whether or not the VC invests in you anyway.
Of course they would care, because that's the whole purpose of the exercise. And because if I understood you correctly, it means that you go to you attend an event where you meet investors, then you do your pitch, and from the feedback you improve your pitch for the next event.
That's true. And hopefully you're going to land a interested party in the interim, right? I mean, that's why you're there. It's just
Yes.
Number one, to find an investor. And secondly, if you can't find an investor, the second best outcome is to learn and, basically how to improve.
Yes. But what would be the difference if you attend such a meeting and you say, hey, I have a new product, it's very promising, I've done 5,000 pre-sales with 80% discount. And then my first question as investor would be, okay, once the product is ready, will you still be at least be a bit profitable if you deliver the product with 80% discount or not?
Well, you would never give anybody an 80% discount, number one. Number two is because an investor would look at that and hear that and say, well, there's no value in your product. You need to have pre-sales that are indicative of a value proposition that can resonate in the market, and you need to demonstrate that with pre-sales.
Okay, and now you say, okay, the first 5,000 that we have sold with 80% discount have increased in price by a factor of 4, so is now 80% of the price. And you sold 5,000 at the technology readiness level of 3, and now is the technology readiness level of 8, and you do your pre-sales with 10% discount. And
Martin, don't get me wrong, I'm not arguing against pre-sales at all.
Yeah,
but there's a right way and a wrong way to do pre-sales.
Yeah, but as for everything, right? When push comes to shove, then you need to decide. So how much discount are we giving? And
yeah, but it has to be pretty minor.
You don't want it to be Groupon, as an example.
Right.
Let's use it as that. Do not be Groupon.
What is Groupon? Is a coupon company where you get. But what is so bad with Groupon? I never use it.
It's supposed to get people excited to come and use your spot and get them hooked.
Okay.
But the couponing that it ends up becoming, it's kind of like shooting yourself in the foot. It's filling yourself up with customers that pay you less.
Yes.
And once that customer is there, they're never going to pay full price. They're going to wait until the next Groupon.
Okay.
And so you don't want to continue to only set the bar that your product is worth less.
I mean, that's the art in it, right? In the pre-sales and marketing to attract the customers that you ultimately want. And the question is, would customers that only buy your product if you give them a discount be the ideal customer for your company? And the answer is very likely no.
Correct.
I mean,
That's exactly
the things I'm most excited to pre-sell, sign up for, are the things that, one, I sign up for it at full price, but it's not going to be accessible for 6 months for anyone else.
Yes. So you are among the first who get it. And
I'm going to say that's the avenue I think that is best for pre-sales.
Yeah, in a B2B environment, I would agree. In a B2C environment, you're in a whole different bucket.
I had an interesting, can I share this maybe? I need to be a bit careful to not reveal secrets, but this one is not critical. Okay, 6 weeks ago, I had an inquiry from a startup, and what they are doing is they are making analytic services in the area of cancer treatment. And what they do is the following. They have developed a method where they take a biopsy of your cancer, and then in a Petri dish, which is a receptacle in the biotech area, they would grow a culture from those cells that are won from your cancer, and then they try out 100 different cancer treatments on those cells, and they said they immediately find out which treatments will not work, and you get that information back, and then the treatment gets better and better, and that is helpful because the cancer doctors would use a trial and error method. They give you one treatment and then they see how it works, and if it doesn't work well, then they try something else and something else and something else, and all that while your cancer is developing, and you're losing time. So is a race against time, and by sorting out those that do not work in a pre-stage would save valuable time. And the problem that they are facing currently is that nobody wants to be the first to try it out. And so I told them, why not trying to pre-sell this to patients who are not yet patients. So if you are concerned about your health because of a bad DNA test, because I did a DNA test with one of our clients earlier this year, and they told me that I have so many cancer genes for this and that and this and that. Right? And then is this something special? No, everybody has a lot of cancer genes. It's just whether this cancer develops or not in your lifetime. So, okay, so what can I do? I pay now with a large discount one of those tests. I buy one of those tests with a large discount, and then they give me a lifetime assurance that I can, if I develop cancer, then I get a one-time, I can use the services one time, and I can also transfer my right to do the test to someone else, but only as long as I'm alive. And I found that quite a convincing model. So, and I tried my pre-sale strategy with several, not several, many, and I always found that at one point in time there's a lever where people would be willing to invest money into your service without receiving the service or the product because it's not even yet there. And this guy went away scratching his head because he was then thinking, so how much should be the discount? And then it all falls back to the same thing. As Rich said, you can do it right or wrong, but you need to find out a way to gauge your sales, the pre-sales price, so that it's still attractive for you and not a loss when people come and bring their voucher to the table.
Well, instead of a discount, maybe he could charge a premium if you want the results faster.
Yeah, or if there's a chain that we guarantee that you get your result within 2 days.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's might be interpreted as rather mercenary, but it's
yeah.
Game
So,
theoretic.
or another client who is also refusing. They David, Rich, you know them, German client. Device is now in a phase where they could do pre-sales, but they refuse to go out and do pre-sales because they don't believe in that. And I say, why not? As Joe said, imagine that for 6 months you're the first one among those 20 who get
Oh
that
my.
new device.
A manufacturer just brought up something. Hey, we have this new product. We couldn't even buy it.
Yeah.
So here's the opposite end. We keep getting, hey, we're going to have these products come down the pipeline, but we can't talk about them to our customers because the moment we talk about something and then we can't deliver it, we have egg on our face. So we would much rather be at the standpoint as a distributor to say, hey, we have it in hand. We can give it to you, or at minimum, we can buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So the pre-sales might just mean distributors get to have continued access of making purchase orders at this time, but not the general customer.
Yeah, that's something. Oh, Rich, you originally you came up with the alpha customer idea, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would those not be targets for the pre-sales?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, that's one of the key attributes of an alpha is that, you know, they've got skin in the game because they've already made that investment with you from a time and development standpoint, you know, and coaching you through that development phase as to, you know, the performance of the widget, whatever that widget is.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, now, you know, they're primed to buy, right? Because they're so invested and it solves a problem that they have. So they're definitely a target.
Yeah. Also for price finding. And another advantage of pre-sales, you can find the right price. Or to talk in Bruce Wojcik's terms, that's the hourglass model. You instead of providing a new gadget, you try to find out a problem that is worth being solved. And the pre-sales is the key to that, because you see from the success in selling whether or not there are people out there that want to have a certain problem solved for paying a certain amount of money. So that's another advantage. I mean, I see many more advantages in chasing clients and customers over chasing investors.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, you know, in the proper flow of things, you would already have your value proposition vetted, and you would already have your product available, and you have some traction, and then you're in the marketplace, and you have a price range that makes sense, and your channel of distribution is identified, and it's the right one. It's a true fit, whatever that channel is.
We have one additional hurdle, though, and I say this from the local hardware stores are stopping using their credit card payment service providers because whatever user agreements that they get set up with, they end up getting into contract hell. So there's a lot of payment processing problems. Getting access to having payment processing to sell your good without being victim to someone's contract agreements.
Okay, and what is the relationship to what we have just talked about?
I'm just adding that is one of the hurdles right where Rich is talking about as the founder goes to make these pre-sales to the customers. Payment processing, even to the general users, such as an existing hardware store. Northern Minnesota apparently is starting to go cash because they're just sick of paying the payment processors.
Yeah, I've never seen that. I've seen that in resort communities where they've flip-flopped from accepting credit to strictly cash. and this one particular, vacation spot that I go to, the entire island is cash. I mean, it's unbelievable. I think the only place that takes credit cards is CVS on the island.
Yeah, but pre-sales is more, I believe, more an individual thing. It's not something that you would do via a credit card. I think is something, and yeah, but again, it's not so much about about whether or not doing pre-sales. Is about changing the mindset of the founders, and the founders. What I see is when founders focus too much on the investors, they forget about developing a product that is sought in the market. And that's,
yeah, it's an easy trap to fall into, Martin.
Okay. Yeah, you even call it trap. That's where it starts. That, I mean,
in this space, I want to call it a gift.
yeah, maybe. No, so but what I see is the biggest hurdle to overcome is in the mindset of the companies, and I can tell you right from the beginning, and those who, or in general, whether it's about investors or customers, as what I said, what I've seen today, they're not even ready for going out and looking for neither investors nor customers.
See, one of the things that, your pharmaceutical firm, is lacking is a person to collaborate with that CEO that's already been through funding, right?
Yes.
And knows how to navigate, the funding hurdles, right? And the expectations of that, and how to speak to investors, and not only identify them, but also how to speak to them once they're found.
Yes.
And, basically, communicating, to them, either in an update format, if they're, they say they're interested and stay in touch, which almost all of them do, by the way, independent of their interest in you. And, basically, that takes time and energy to update all those folks, right? So you come up with a newsletter and a monthly release and communicate that. But, it's your founder that you just talked about really needs somebody on her team.
Yes.
That is basically, the spokesperson when it comes from, the investor, perspective of the business.
Yeah, I will communicate that, because what I also found is when I talk with people who have successfully found investors, is that they say entertaining those investors is a work on its own. If you have too many, then it's a flea circus. That's the expression that one used. And then they come in and have their own ideas, and then they like backseat drivers tell you where to steer the company, and then it's also not nice.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, if you're taking in a bunch of equity, or giving away a bunch of equity at $10,000 for an investment, that really doesn't do you any good. It blows up your cap table, and then you got to get rid of those people before you can any other true professional investor.
True.
So I mean, there's all sorts of those gotchas that that she needs to experience and understand, and she really needs a co-founder, because that's the level of expectation that an investor is going to have, is just to speak to a co-founder about the dilution, the share price, the value of the company, the valuation, all those types of things and the types of investment that they're looking for, and you know, the use of funds, right? What's the use of funds for that investment?
Yes.
So there's just lots and lots of dimensions to that.
Yeah, but now, I mean, honestly, right? We do this for many, no, not many, several years now. And I'm now much further as compared with 5 years ago, because now I can I can walk into such a discussion as a patent attorney. And what they ask me is, do we need a logo, a protection for our logo? And the next one is, do we, yeah, and then I can ask, where are you now, technology readiness level? What is your business plan? How are you planning to finance all this? So I even ask you, how many millions are you away from your product? And then she said 8 millions. And then I say, oh, okay. I said, yeah. So that is very helpful for us professionals, because it helps me to better help the clients, because then we can gauge a bit how much money they have left for the IP protection, and also the insight that IP in the whole process of innovating is the least important part most of the time, because the other parts are more important. And in the first place, the market response testing and the freedom to operate more than the development itself. And what I also learned is to say, okay, IP is not really the most important part, but sometimes it can be very, very, very important. So you cannot live without it. And the best, as we are in pre-sales today, I have another testimonial. Another client, he bought my idea of pre-selling. So what they did is was a sell sheet with the features of the new product, and then they went out to promote their own product. And that happened just 2 weeks ago. They came back and said, Martin, we have a big problem. What is the problem? Well, one of our competitors is using the same information as in our sell sheet, and they're promoting a product with the identical features. And say, yeah, okay, now? I said, yeah, we should have filed our patent 3 months ago, before we went to test the market, as you have mentioned. But we didn't. They thought it's not necessary, because they only talked with clients or potential clients from their existing portfolio, where they thought that they wouldn't talk with the competition.
What a bunch of fools.
I didn't want to say that. I only thought it. But yeah.
I mean, that's the way it happens everywhere.
Yes. Yeah. So my advice was, okay, file your patent now, and take this as a sign that this product is really interesting. and start your pre-sales today, because I talked with a sales guy about 2 months ago about the pre-sales, and then he said, oh, the difference between the Germans and the Americans is the Americans, they always do the pre-sales and they promise to supply in 6 months down the road or 1 year. And when the Germans, when they have developed the product ready, they go out and want to sell it. And then all those who bought the pre-sales from the US get told, sorry, we would love to buy your product, but we have subscribed with your competitor and we are just waiting for them to release it. So we don't have money for your product. And that's another positive effect of pre-sales, that you block the market for your competition. And I believe that's most valuable. So I told them, file your patent now. I mean, they were smart enough to not reveal how they achieved those features. And so they filed a patent right away, because it was there. We have drafted everything in the course of an FTO, Freedom to Operate study, FTO. And the product description was made such that you can file it as a patent application right away. And so that's how we do our Freedom to Operate. The outcome is also a provisional patent filing, of quite a good quality. Is not the best, but at least you have some protection, and you get it for very cheap, because a provisional filing costs you no filing fees in Germany, for example. By the way, I did also a provisional filing in the US without paying the filing fees, and the US PTO accepted that one. Is an interesting case I will publish soon. So, and just by doing that, you state a claim that you are there, but they haven't done. Okay, now they learn from that, and hopefully that will work, because now they have I use this and say, now go out and sell, block the market for what you have, and you have your patent in place, and get your alpha customers to test it out and sell to them. And yeah, that's another testimonial about pre-sales that I had. Just 2 weeks old. I wanted to bring it up, but then Alessandro was faster with his venture capital thing. But that was really sitting on my heart, because it was such a insightful experience that someone buys in to the pre-sales, but only goes half the way, not securing the reverse side by creating some IP protection. And they got punished immediately. Yeah, I'm wondering whether you had some similar experience or not. Then that would be cool if you could contribute, or if yeah, apart from that's not a very smart idea doing that, because the question arises when you go out to pre-sell your idea. Is there something that you can do in addition to filing a patent? So would that be something that you think about? Would those alpha customers, would they engage with you and sign an NDA, or at least something similar that gives you some security that your ideas are not leaked out?
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, Martin, I mean, many of our development customers, you know, we had either we initiated or we already had a formal NDA in place, and it was a mutual NDA in most cases, and so they gave us protection both ways, right? So it's sort of interesting though, because I've also seen where you have an NDA in place, and that customer has leaked it to the competition. You just can't prove it.
Yeah, sure. But the issue is you don't sue your customers. I have learned that very early in my career as a patent attorney. Yeah, I have a very successful company, and one of their customers infringed their copyright. They published one of the drawings of my client in their catalog. So and I requested an interim injunction against them, and I also got it, but that ended the business relationship between the two, and it took about 20 years to get back into business. So I don't think that suing a customer is a good idea, whatever they commit. But the question is, from a practical point of view, is there something that could convince an alpha customer to not release the information to your competitor?
Well, and I mean, part of that is incumbent on the team that is talking to them, during that discovery process, and to ensure that they aren't giving away the farm, right? I mean, there's some things that you just can't tell the customer, right?
Yes.
Now they may guess, and you may have a funny way of saying, hey, that's pretty close to what we're thinking, or that's we hadn't thought of that. That's a great idea. Thank you, kind of thing. But it's really the skill of the team doing that discovery, and to ensure that you aren't again giving away the farm, right, and giving them so it's it is a challenge. I mean, that's for sure. Is there a way, to answer your question? I think that you just, when you go into these kinds of discovery discussions, I mean, you just need to do your best and hope for the best, and and basically, okay, if they have that piece of information, what are they going to do with it, right? If they share that with a competitor, is that competitor going to learn something that maybe is unique and different? To be quite frank, most competitors' sales teams are very poor at providing feedback on the competition to their own company.
That's an important insight, Rich. Yes, and it's really something where we could what you could change. Bring the sales guys into the innovation.
Correct.
Because they have very different targets, and yeah, I would say if there's one insight, is that you recognize this and find those sales guys and who are willing to feedback.
Yeah, and I used to offer a bounty, right?
Yeah.
My sales team, if I was in a rush to really find, a piece of data, I'd put a bounty on it, and I would say, okay, hey, for the next 30 days, you've got a $250 opportunity here, to find, to get me this piece of information, or faster.
Yeah. Okay, we have reached the end of our hour. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for giving me feedback and also the interesting talk. And I believe it's just good. You have a venture capitalist here. The next thing you talk about pre-sales. I really love it. See you again next week, and thank you. Goodbye.
Take care. See you.
Bye.